Hello and good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well and safe and taking great care of yourselves. My name is Orijita, and on behalf of Yashna Trust Education USA Bangalore, I welcome you all to this session that we are hosting in collaboration with Ohio University. First up, a real quick round of introduction. Please join me in welcoming Prathamesh Paingankar. I hope, Prathamesh, I got the surname correct. Excuse
Yes,
me
you
if I
did.
did. Okay, great. So Prathamesh is the regional representative in India for undergraduate admissions at Ohio University. A very warm welcome to you, Prathamesh. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on board to do this session with Education USA Bangalore. Now, to our participants, as part of our pre-session housekeeping protocol, I would request all our attendees to use a headphone for better sound quality and clarity. You shall all be on mute for the entire duration of the session today, but that shouldn't stop you from asking us any questions that you may have, or letting us know a little bit about who you are and which part of the country are you joining us from. In fact, we do have a poll that you would see currently running or popping up on your screen. It'll greatly help us if you could submit your responses. And one of the questions over there is around your consent in terms of sharing your contact information that we can share with Prathamesh, so he can later on get in touch with you as well. In case you are not sure about sharing your information at this point of time, we can definitely share Prathamesh's information over an email with you, so you can definitely get in touch with him as well. So those are the two options in which you could get in touch with Ohio University. Um, this session is also being recorded, and a copy of this will be made available on our Education USA YouTube channel. And once again, we will share the links with you once they are live on the channel when we send you a follow-up email. Now, for those of you who are listening to this recorded session, should you have a query, you can drop us an email to either Education USA Bangalore or to Prathamesh, and we will share email IDs of both Education USA and Prathamesh and from Ohio University in the description as far as YouTube is concerned. So you can definitely get in touch with us later on. Now, for the interest of those who may be new to this platform, I want to take a moment and let you all know a little bit about who we are and what we do. Education USA is a US Department of State supported global network of over 430 international student advising centers in more than 175 countries. And essentially, what the network does is it promotes US higher education to students from around the world by offering accurate, comprehensive, unbiased, and current information about opportunities to study at accredited higher education institutions in the United States. In India, in fact, I said we have a global presence in 175 countries. In India, we have 7 Education USA advising centers, and they have 3 host organizations. Our center in Bangalore, from where I work out of, is hosted by Yashna Trust, which is the only official Education USA advising center for the whole of Karnataka. Now, feel free to contact us should you need any help to find your best fit US institution. And we also understand that, in this journey, sometimes what stops us or stops you from moving forward is perhaps lack of right information or even myths. And that's precisely where Ohio University and Education USA is trying to reach out to you to try and debunk 10 myths about studying abroad in the US. And in fact, Prathamesh here was just mentioning that he has been working on this particular program and has developed today's session and is delivering it for the first time with Education USA. So we are extremely thrilled that this is going to be useful to a lot of international students who are perhaps going to start looking at various US higher education institutions that would perhaps be a good fit for them in the long run. So what we intend to do is, once Prathamesh takes over, he's going to take us through his presentation, help debunk those 10 big myths that we all have, and then we will take your questions. So there is a Q&A option that you will see on your screen. Feel free to post your questions there, and then we can take those towards the end. On that note, Prathamesh, thank you so much once again for joining us this evening. Over to you. The floor is all yours.
All right. Hi and good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here, to talk to you all something about higher education in the United States. Though I would have loved to, do this in person, but I guess, virtual is the new in person, at least for some more time. Before I begin, I want to thank Education USA Bangalore Yashna Trust, for this platform and opportunity. I personally consider, Education USA as the best and authentic source of information on everything pertaining to US higher education. A bit of a background about me. As Arjita mentioned, my name is Prathamesh and I'm from Mumbai. I currently work as an admissions advisor with undergraduate admissions team at Ohio University in Athens, United States. Aside from outreach, I also spend some of my time in supporting high school students in their journey from being an applicant to a full-time student at Ohio. I have a background in marketing and communications, and I'm passionate about international education. A fun fact about me that I would like to share here: I have been an international student myself, and I can tell you that it's an experience of a lifetime. It truly makes you a global citizen and can transform you in ways that you have never imagined. So, today's session has actually been inspired from the conversations that I have had with so many of you students and parents. And during these conversations, I observed that a lot of students, had assumed certain things and hence were either skeptical of applying to US universities or, were stressing about their application. So, in today's session, we are going to bust some of the myths, that surround the US higher education, especially the undergraduate part of it, to make sure, that your application process is smooth, and you're excited about going to a US university rather than, fretting about it. And to be honest, there are many myths that exist, but I have tried and included the top 10 common myths. Now, some of you may have, considered them to be true, and a few of you, may not be sure. And it's always good to confirm before, assuming anything, right? That's what I believe. Here we go. So, myth number one. Okay, 1 second. So, the admissions process is complicated with low acceptance rates. Well, it may certainly be competitive, but not at all complicated. The fact is, it is holistic and inclusive. Admissions process at most US universities is very much inclusive and holistic. Yes, the acceptance rates differ, but there are over 4,500 institutions in the US. And for all you know, the university with a low acceptance rate may not even be the right fit for you. So, for an admission to the undergraduate program, you simply need your transcripts, your mark sheets that we call in India from class 9, 10, 11. If you have predicted grades, then you can also submit those. And it is compulsory at a few universities, it is optional for some. Now, if you thought without SAT, ACT, you cannot study, then let me tell you that many universities are test optional. Some are test optional for a year because of the pandemic, and some are test optional forever. Like at Ohio University, we are test optional. So if you choose to submit your scores, they will be considered towards your admission decision. Now, some, as I said, still do require it. Then comes your letters of recommendation, essays, extracurriculars. They are all optional for some. And most universities, also go for something called as a holistic review process. Like at Ohio University, for example, we look at your class rank, the strength and rigor of the curriculum, essays, LORs, extracurriculars, SAT, ACT, if you choose to submit, while making an admission decision. So the decision is based pretty much on the overall profile and not just one aspect of the student. So you really need to, check with the universities that you're applying about their requirements. For all you know, something that you're stressing about may not even be required. Now, even if you aren't admitted, a few universities also accept you as an intending student. I would again like to give Ohio's example here. So at Ohio University, we have something called as an intending major. So if a student, say, has applied for a mechanical engineering program and the student doesn't demonstrate a strong academic preparation in math, physics, chemistry at the school level, because those are the subjects that the admissions officer will definitely want to look at when they are reviewing the student's application for mechanical engineering. Now, if we feel that they don't have that strong academic preparation, we admit the student as an intending mechanical engineering major, which simply means that the student will first complete the mandatory requirements, like taking placement tests or taking introductory courses in math, chemistry, physics, and when they reach the desired level, they are transferred to the program full time. This is just done so that we don't want you to struggle later on when you are into the program. So just check again with the university that you're applying to, and please always remember we are the office of admissions and not the office of denials. So it breaks our heart as well when we have to deny admission to anyone. Okay, moving on to myth number 2. The US education system is only suited for American students. Now, while it may seem like that for sure, but it's definitely not the case. The fact is, US education system is different, but definitely doable. By anyone, there is a lot of emphasis on self-study at any US institution. You do get to attend lectures, seminars, but at the end of the day, the onus is upon you to do what is required as part of your assessment. Now, during our school time, we rely a lot on Google, Wikipedia, etc. Right? At least I was doing that, guilty as charged. And we also get what we want, but when it comes to college, especially in the US, you are required to undertake, some additional things over and above attending the lectures. So it could be like doing your own research, which would mean, spending time at the library, going through books, research papers, market research websites, to gather some intel. And what's the point of learning really, if it's not applied? So in the US, you don't just attend lectures, you also participate in class discussions and seminars and apply all of the theory and concepts that you learn in the classroom to real world issues and cases. Some of you may know this as experiential learning. I'm sure we all must have heard of this term. So that's what experiential learning means. It's pretty hands-on when you are, studying in a US institution. The other interesting fact, is that US education provides a whole education along with specialization. So it has a liberal arts education system, and with its liberal arts and sciences approach, it makes you a well-rounded individual. I'm going to share more on this in my later slide. So for now, let's move on to myth number 3. I can't study in the United States unless I am fluent in English. This is one of my favorites, okay? Now, the fact is, there are again pathways available. So firstly, being able to comprehend and speak English is crucial, as all of your classes, interactions and study is going to be in English. Secondly, you're going to live in a country where there are a majority of English speakers, and for you to manage and operate in a country like that, you need to know the language. So that way, I don't think it's a big ask, right? But not knowing, or being fluent in English doesn't mean that you cannot study in the US. Most US universities offer something called as the pathway program. So at Ohio, for example, so we have a program called the OP program, Ohio Program of Intensive English, where if you do not meet our English proficiency requirement, you are put on this pathway program where after we determine your level of English, you will be required to take some English classes along with your academics. So once you reach the desired level of proficiency, we transfer you full time into the program. Now, if you don't want to go with the pathway program, you can also sign up for English classes in your country, maybe, and then take any of the English proficiency tests whenever you are ready. So it could be IELTS, TOEFL, or Duolingo for that matter, which is an online test. Now, while your offer at the time will be conditional because you don't meet the English proficiency requirement, it can be made unconditional once you submit the test score and meet the individual university's requirement. Now, there are also some universities, who partner with English language centers. So I would highly encourage you to check those out. And that way, you also stay engaged with the university, and that is more credible instead of, taking it through someone that you may not be familiar with or you may not be aware. So that's our myth number 3 for you. Moving on, US undergraduate degrees take longer to complete. Now, whatever I'm going to say here is a continuation from myth number 2, where we spoke about the US education system. So here's the fact: US education takes a broader approach. Now, let us first get a few things cleared. In the US, the duration of the undergraduate study is 4 years. Now, coming from India, most of us tend to think that it is 3 years. So, that way it is, yes, an additional year long. But when you know why, it will all kind of start to make sense to you. So US follows a liberal arts curriculum, wherein all students, irrespective of the major that they are in, have to complete certain general education requirements, also known as Gen Eds, in the US. So this general education, comprises of liberal arts and sciences, which is, any of the languages, humanities, economics, natural sciences, social sciences, mathematics, etc. So whichever university you go to, you would be required to study them as per the university's general education requirements. Now, you would have also heard about the term interdisciplinary a lot, right? So it basically means studying and applying two different disciplines to one problem or an activity. So I'll give you an example here so that it's more clear. So studying psychology and history with, say, computer engineering. Now, computer engineering will teach you to develop maybe softwares and applications, but psychology will teach you how to understand the psyche of the consumer and their decision making process. So you get to know your consumer really well before you kind of develop these applications or softwares. So what will happen is it will make your software and application that you are developing being well received and accepted, right? What will history do here? Well, history will give you the knowledge of analyzing what worked and what did not in the past. Isn't this the education that we all want? So this is what the US education offers you, and that's why it's slightly longer. Now, the length of your graduation can also be shortened with college credits. Since the American education system, is credit based, you need a fixed number of credits to graduate. So for undergraduate programs, it is generally 120 credits. And you can start collecting, these credits during your high school itself, by appearing for some of the external exams that are conducted, like the AP exams are very popular, the CLEP exams, ASA levels. If you are studying in a Cambridge board, then ASA levels are also accepted for college level credit. IBHLs, if you have scored like, so at Ohio, if you've scored a 5 or above in your IBHLs, we recognize those and give you credits for those. So these exams are recognized, in fact, by most US universities, and they give you college level credits. So whatever credits you get, they are deducted from the 120 credits that I told you, which means that you can look at shortening your graduation time. And once that happens, it will automatically save you cost, correct? Now you can also complete your degree at your own pace. Now to maintain your full-time student status, you anyway need to complete at least 12 credits per semester, and your tuition fees can sometimes include like up to 20 credits. So it varies from university to university again. So what that means is you can take up and finish more credits quickly if you like. If you plan to take up more than 20, it may come at an additional cost. But why not just make use of the 20 credits that you already get, as part of your tuition? So that's again a good way to kind of, reduce your graduation time. Moving on to myth number 5, my family needs to be wealthy for me to apply. So I agree, college education is expensive for most, but that does not mean that you need to be from a wealthy background at all. So many universities, offer generous, need-based, merit-based, and institutional scholarships. Additional scholarships are also available after you complete a year, or after clearing an interview in some cases. So a few universities can offer you like a full ride, which means the full cost of attendance will be managed by that university for you. Some offer full tuition, some offer half tuition. This means that you can almost being the keyword here, study for free at a few universities in the US. Or you simply need to kind of pay for your accommodation, meals, and any out of pocket expenses like your travel, textbooks, and any personal expenses that you'll incur. And the rest will be managed through these scholarships that I just told you. Now many universities also offer to waive the initial application fee if you explain to them your financial situation. So the application fee is itself, between $50 to $80. It could be more also, depending on the institution that you're applying to. But for Ohio, it's $70. And we do consider such requests from students, and we waive them on a case-to-case basis. So make sure that, when you are applying to the universities, please ask them for a fee waiver code. That way you get to save that, initial cost that you may incur while you're applying to colleges. And who doesn't like saving money, right? So you can start right from the application stage. Myth number 6, the level of studies is tough and hectic. Okay, this is again one of my favorite myths to bust. And during my interactions with students, a lot of them ask, sir, is studying in the US hectic? Or will I be able to do it? Or will I flunk? What if I am not able to, manage? So I'm going to be very honest here and say that when I was an international student, I also asked the same questions. And when I actually started studying, I realized that my fears were temporary, and I had every kind of support available on campus than I had ever imagined. So in the US, it's application based learning, and no rote learning. So coming from India, some of us, are used to kind of mugging up things and then, writing them word to word during the annual exams. So it does not work like that in the US. During your undergraduate study, there will be times when, you have to take some pre-lecture reading. A professor or a faculty member will ask you to do reading beforehand, and then come to the class prepared, because there'll be live discussions that you'll have to be a part of. You would also be requiring to work on certain assignments for, which you'll have to undertake additional reading and research. Now all of this, may sound overwhelming initially, as you are trying to adjust to a new education system. But hey, you will also be given an academic advisor who will help you kind of manage your studies during those 4 years. Now what an academic advisor does is they basically work with you and they track your progress. They, advise you on the right courses, be your guide, for any academic challenges that you would encounter. And you can, always, look up to them for any support, or any hiccups that you may face during your 4 years. They are there just for you. And most universities also offer something called as SIs, which is supplemental instruction, which involves, these upperclassmen or seniors, as we call them, to, explain the concepts and clear any doubts after the classes. So these are again optional for students who really were not able to figure out something in the class and they would like additional coaching. Yes, additional coaching is the appropriate word here. So apart from that, there is also like a writing center, because coming from India, or maybe an Indian board for that matter, we are not used to writing so much, uh, so a lot of students initially kind of struggle with writing, and they again, start doubting themselves. Okay, I cannot write, or I cannot do this. But you don't have to worry at all. There is a writing center, dedicated for students, where someone actually guides you on how to write assignments, and they also help you in reviewing them before you submit. As an international student, I went through the same thing because I was not used to writing. And when I went to the university, I did struggle, with a couple of assignments at the start. But once I, took help of these resources, I was sorted. So you don't have to worry at all. Also, the faculty, they have open office hours where you can just walk in to get a revision or ask any questions that, may not have been cleared during the class. So I would say it is not tough or hectic. It is different, but it is doable. Okay, myth number 7. Let's see what it is. Grading is based on final exams only. Grading at a US university is based on a number of different factors. Okay, you are continuously assessed and evaluated, and not just on the basis of your final examinations. Sounds fair, right? Now, during every semester, the faculty is expecting you to complete certain homework assignments, lead and participate in class discussions and activities, undertake, new initiatives, participate in quizzes. Yes, this is an interesting thing that happens at many US colleges. You are actually given like a quiz after you complete a class to just see how much have you gathered, from that particular class. So this is very interesting again. So you take those quizzes, then yes, you do appear for final examinations. It's not like in the US exams don't happen; they do happen. But all of these things are taken into consideration, and a GPA is given to you. So even if you've not done well in, say, your written exams due to some reason, you always have the chance to redeem yourself, by performing well in the other areas. Let's move on to myth number 8. Being in an undecided major will affect my profile and graduation. Now, this I think is one of the biggest myths of studying in the US. For those of you who may not be aware, US colleges offer something called as the undecided major, where you don't have to be sure about what major you want to study until the first year. You can study a little bit of everything until you finally find something worth giving the rest of your 3 years to. And at the end of the first year, students are generally expected to declare their major. Now, the fact here is you can graduate with the final major, with the specialization that you're looking for. It's not like you will be an undecided major for all the 4 years. That's not how it works. Now, the fact that US colleges offer an undecided major in the first place shows that they understand that not every student is sure about the career plan, or what they would like to study. If it's an option given to you, then how can it be disadvantageous, right? And also the fact that you come as an undecided major tells someone that you are honest and serious about your career, as you don't just want to settle for anything. This option also gives you the time to kind of explore rather than getting into something at first and then regretting your decision. Now, after you transition from an undecided major to a declared major, you are still on track, as I said, to complete your degree in 4 years with the specialization that you're looking for. And it does not add an additional year. Yes, unless you extend your undecided major, then it will extend your graduation. But otherwise, you can still be a graduate in 4 years. And your degree certificate will not state undecided. Again, a question that I get a lot from students and parents. It will state the major that you have graduated with. So if you've come in as an undecided student in the College of Engineering and you declare your major as mechanical engineering, then your degree certificate will state major in mechanical engineering. Okay, myth number 9. STEM means the program is good. Okay, a lot of us have heard of the word STEM, especially in the context of US. Now, STEM is an abbreviation for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It is in no way a certification for how good or bad the program is. STEM refers, to the subjects under science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and that's what US is popularly known for, right? Most students that come to the US are for these programs, but that does not mean that other programs are bad. Yes, there is an advantage there for graduates with a degree in any of the STEM fields, and that is an OPT extension of 2 years. That means that the STEM graduate gets a total of 3 years instead of the 1 year that a non-STEM graduate gets. And they can stay back for 3 years in the US and work in the related field. Also remember that there's a caveat here that not all programs are STEM designated. It's a good practice, and I highly recommend you to do this if you're planning, for applying to a STEM major and you want the 2 year OPT option, then please check with the advisor or the admissions team before applying, because they can change, anytime. Some new programs get added, some programs get removed. So it's always a good practice to check. Let's move on to our last myth for today. It's unsafe to study in the United States. For any US university, I'll tell you, student safety is their number one priority, and a lot of focus is given to campus safety and security. Many universities, including Ohio University, have their own deputized police on campus. They are working 24/7, and they are constantly patrolling in and around the campus areas, to keep them safe and secure. We also, at Ohio, host these informal events with the police force. So the image that you see here on this slide is from our monthly event called Coffee with the Cop, wherein we invite students to just have a candid chat or talk with the police force, where they get to share any of their issues, or if they have any suggestions to make, they are free to kind of share this in this sort of an environment. And most universities also offer emergency resources and services through a mobile app. So again, at Ohio, we have something called as a Bobcat Safe app, which we encourage all our students to download on their mobile devices. What it does is it provides you with navigation services, pick up and drop, facility, and emergency assistance right at the click of a button. So, if you're scared to kind of walk back home alone in the night from the campus, like you're studying late in the library, and you want to return back home, and you're not sure if you would be able to do it alone. You can just open the mobile app, request for a free cab ride, or request someone, to be on the phone while you're walking. So be it in or around campus, you're definitely in safe hands. So with that, it's the end of this presentation, and hopefully, we were able to, we were successful in, busting all your myths about undergraduate study in the US. I thank you for listening, and from here, I will hand it back to Arjita. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Prathamesh. I can't agree with you more. I think the premise for today's session was an attempt to debunk those myths, and you've covered quite a lot, in all the 10 myths, and they're quite distinct. And I really loved that, each one of them had a myth, and then came with the facts, and hopefully with examples that you backed each of those facts with, it will be able to help people demystify the entire process. You also touched upon very specific points around the application process, and realistically, I would say, highlight what students can do to realize each of the facts to make it a success, really. We do have a lot of questions which have come in already. So, what I will do is, for the benefit of our participants, I'll read them out for you, Prathamesh. And Prathamesh, I'm sorry, I'm keeping my video off only for the reason that we are recording the video, recording the session. I don't want any kind of interruptions, because sometimes I can see a pop up which says my internet is unstable. So, just so that we are able to continue with the recording in a seamless manner, I apologize that I'm not able to turn on my video at this point of time.
No problem
Prathamesh,
at all.
yeah, should I start off with the first question then?
Sure.
Okay, so there was a question that came up, I think at one point of time when you spoke about OPT. Um, uh, so we did get one or two questions. So perhaps you could start off with that. Could you explain what OPT would really mean, and then also put things in perspective in terms of STEM and a non-STEM OPT? How are they different?
Okay, so thank you, whoever asked this question. So OPT stands for Optional Practical Training, and it's consider it like a post-study work permit that you get in the United States. For STEM majors, the programs that are under STEM, you get an additional 2 years of OPT. And if it's a non-STEM program, then you just get 1 year. So a STEM graduate will get a total of 3 years, and a non-STEM graduate will get a total of 1 year to basically look for a job in the US and work in their respective field. That's what OPT means.
Great. A follow-up question, really, which Vivek has mentioned, which is, does business and economics, being non-STEM, have the OPT option of 2 years? Now, would you like to debunk the idea that not all business or economics based subjects will be non-STEM?
So at Ohio, they are non-STEM majors,
Right,
but as I was saying, it differs because
right.
understand this: there are more than 4,500 institutions in the US.
Yeah.
So you really have to check with the respective advisor or the admissions team if the major that you're looking for is a STEM or a non-STEM major.
Right. Great. So those were the kind of questions that came from Neelavani and Vivek. So Vivek and Neelavani, if you have follow-up questions, please feel free to post those. And I will go back to one of the earlier questions that Vivek again had posted, which is, if the GPA is not great, but the essays, overall profile, internships are impressive, then how is it viewed at the admissions level?
So great question. A lot of parents actually ask us this question that my child has not done academically well, but he has these other things that he's good at. So as I said, some universities like Ohio, for example, we go for a holistic review process wherein yes, academics are very important. We do consider them. But apart from that, we also look at these other things that you've mentioned. Essays. A lot of students skip the essays. They feel that they don't really make a difference, but understand that it just gives us an insight into the student. It helps us to know the student better. So it's always encouraged that you submit the essays that are required, especially if your academics aren't great. Internships, if they are relevant, then we would encourage you to talk about those internships through your SOP, or through the activities section in the application. It does not matter how many number of internships you've done. Like, we prefer quality over quantity, really, because it has to be relevant to what major you are trying to pursue. So yes, at Ohio we do go for that holistic review, and we do consider all of this as part of the student's profile. But again, you will have to check it with the universities that you are planning to apply to.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Prathamesh. Prathamesh, I'll come now to a couple of questions which are specific to Ohio University. There's a question from Manal, which is in Ohio University, do you accept a 3-year graduation degree? I do understand you from an undergrad. You do work with students from there for the undergraduate admissions perspective, but would you have a response for Manal here?
So I'm not sure, to be honest. So I would ask you to just write an email to our graduate team. So it's a simple email ID, graduate@ohio.edu, and they'll be happy to kind of assist you.
Right. And Manal, that's really the way you can find out, if there are other universities that you are perhaps interested in applying to, just directly write to them and find out if they accept a 3-year graduation degree or not. Okay. All right. The next question is, how is Ohio University for its computer science majors, and what is the scope of internship as far as opportunities are concerned?
Okay, so we have a fantastic computer science program, and it's offered by our very renowned Russ College of Engineering and Technology. And it comes with a lot of research opportunities, for undergraduate students. A lot of those opportunities, are mostly reserved for postgrad students like masters and PhD. But at Ohio, we give those opportunities to undergraduate students right from day one, because we are also a research university. So our faculty is constantly involved in some or the other creative research, and you get to be a part of that research. We take it so seriously that we also provide like a funding for that research. So if you have an interesting research idea or a topic that you would like to explore, then you can present it to the committee and you can just get funded for that. And talking about a computer science major, yes, you do have opportunities to kind of secure an internship. We have, 2 career fairs that happen every year. So during your 4 years, you will be exposed to 8 career fairs. So one happens during each semester. So one in fall, one in spring, and there we have these employers coming from across the U.S. and Ohio. So Ohio is actually home to top 25 Fortune 500 companies, and we get a lot of those employers on campus. So you have Apple, Google, Microsoft, all of these companies coming to recruit on campus, be it for internships or for jobs after graduation. So we give you those opportunities, and you can definitely secure an internship, but you have to plan it really well. When you are in an extensive program like that, you have to really plan it well. So our academic advisor will work with you to kind of help you plan your internship better. So those are some internship opportunities that we have.
All right. So that was a question from Dhruv. So Dhruv, if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to post them. Okay, I think he's already posted a question, which is it highly competitive to get through to these internship opportunities?
Competition is everywhere, right? So you really have to stand out. You really have to show the employers that you are meant for this job and not anybody else. So yes, I mean, the stronger you make your profile, the better it is for you.
Great. Okay. Dhruv, hopefully that answers your question. The next question, we'll go back to Vivek again. He had two follow up questions, which is one is, if a university is need aware, if you apply for financial aid, how is the application viewed and assessed? Let's first take this and then maybe the next question.
Sure. So if the university is need aware, then they would like to, see your financial background before they give you an admission decision. So they would ask you to submit, your financial documents, and then, review the application. And these universities are also able to meet, the financial aid that you are requesting. So the application is viewed, uh, that way, you know.
Mhm. Okay. Vivek, let us know if that helped you get a response. The other follow up question that Vivek had was, do the universities have a hospital or medical clinic in the campus?
So I would say most universities do have that. I won't be able to talk about everyone, but I'm sure most of them have. At Ohio, we have our own medical college, and we also have a dispensary, on campus, or a hospital. So it's pretty much available to all the students for free.
Right. And Prathamesh, what would be the next best way for parents like Vivek and others to find out about these facilities? Would going to the university websites help them understand what resources are available to students?
So university websites are a great way to find all the information. I'm telling you,
Right.
especially for US universities,
Yeah.
all of the websites are frequently updated. So,
Very true.
you will find all the information that you're looking for. If you cannot, just drop them an email and you will receive a response within 24 hours.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Okay, the next question, Prathamesh, is from Neela Veni, which
Mhm.
is, you did speak about IBHL. So the question is, how many credits will a student get for one IBHL subject?
So it depends. We have a table actually. So all the subjects are kind of mentioned in that. So whichever HL subject that you are trying to redeem for your college level credit, we will kind of grant it accordingly as per the table that we have. So you can go to our website actually, if you are interested in checking, and if you go to the credits section, you will be able to download like a PDF which has all the IB credits listed.
All right, great. Pranavi here has a question on, are there any particular subjects that would be required if you want to pursue designing? And then she's given an example that, would she need to have science in classes 11 and 12 to be able to pursue designing for undergrad?
Um, Great question, Pranavi. So for designing, not any specific subjects as such, but I can say that we will look for some of your designing work if you're planning to apply for a design related program, like a portfolio, or any certification that you may have in designing. If you've done like um, uh, a certificate course in graphic designing or web designing, then we would like to see those. In terms of subjects at the high school level, I don't think there is any requirement of any particular subjects per se.
Right. You did touch upon, taking the AP exams, and then there's a follow-up question to say, is it valid at Ohio University? And then the follow-up question is, how will it help a student bypass some of the semesters?
Of course, we accept it at Ohio University, and I'm telling you again, most US universities accept the AP exams, and they help you because they give you credits, right? So you are already taking that higher level of study. So the university kind of recognizes that and gives you the credit for it. Now, as I was mentioning before, the credits that you get eventually depend on the uh, university team. So they will be able to tell you how many credits those will count as at the university, and then they are deducted from the 120 credit requirement that is there for the undergraduate programs. That way you're able to kind of graduate faster, and you can save a lot of money, because in the US you'll be spending in dollars, and in India, when you're taking the AP exams, they will not cost you as much. So it is always good to kind of give these exams if you have the time and bandwidth, before going to the US. So it really saves you a lot of time and money.
Right. Prathamesh, I think towards the very beginning, one of the things that you were touching upon were the standardized tests. And I don't know if Anu here, who has a question around the SAT being mandatory this year or not, if she was already there at that point of time, would you like to touch upon it a little bit and let her know about SAT score requirements?
Right.
For Ohio, maybe, and then maybe give a bit of a holistic understanding of what most US universities are doing. But then she will still need to go back and find out from individual universities.
Right, right. So, Anu, I would explain it to you in this way. So, there are three types of universities. Let me put it this way: one is test optional, one is test blind, the other is test flexible. So, it again depends on the universities that you're applying to. So, at Ohio, we are test optional. We would accept the SAT score if it is submitted and use it to make the admission decision and scholarship decision. Now, test blind universities are those universities where, irrespective of you submitting it or not, they are not going to consider your SAT or ACT test score. Test flexible universities are those universities wherein they accept the super score. So if you submit, say, a SAT score of 1200 and you again give the SAT later and get a higher score, maybe 1400, so you can resubmit the score and ask the university to consider your highest score. So that is about the SAT really. And again, my advice to all of you here would be check with the respective advisor or the university before kind of submitting your application.
Very true. Uh, Prathamesh, the next question is from Shireen, which is many US universities look at extracurricular activities as a part of their holistic admissions process. Now, if Shireen has never been part of such activities, or if it's just a hypothetical example, let's just say, will her chances of admission reduce drastically?
Shireen, not really, but it again depends on the admissions team at that respective university. Extracurricular activities are optional for most universities, but yes, colleges do like to see them because it just gives us another perspective, to us. We want to look at your academics, yes, while making a decision, but we also want to know a little bit about you. Academics tell us about certain things that we need to know, but we don't really know you as a person. What sort of things interests you, or what sort of activities you've done during your high school. So all of this we really come to know through your extracurricular activities. So I would say it is a cherry on the cake, if I had to put it that way.
So true. Uh, Prathamesh, I know we are. I think we have about 5 more minutes before before the clock strikes 7. But is it okay if we go beyond that in case there are more questions that come our way?
I'm okay with
Okay,
this.
yeah. So I'll request participants as well. Those for those of you who you feel we haven't been able to respond to your questions yet, please stay back. We would definitely want Prathamesh to respond to your questions. Meanwhile, I've started a poll just to sort of ask what you thought of today's webinar. And in case you joined us late and you skipped that question where, if it's okay for us to share your details with Prathamesh, please let us know. Just put it in the chat and just mention that, I'm okay with my details being shared with Prathamesh, and we will ensure that you are in touch with Prathamesh and Ohio University for any future communications. All right, coming back to the questions here. So the next question is from Sudhir, and his
Mhm.
question is: how should American citizens studying in India approach undergraduate admissions? Are the requirements any different? And can you also talk in general to any additional scholarship funding opportunities that are available for US citizens? Prathamesh, Bangalore has a lot of students who are actually American citizens studying here. So perhaps this will be a question that will help them.
Okay, so we do get a lot of US citizens who have been kind of studying in India, and they've done majority of their schooling from India or from an Indian board. So you are just kind of looked at as a regular student. There is no concession really that way. So you would be required to submit the same set of documents as an international student would. But yes, in some cases, you are requested to kind of submit the SAT or ACT test score. It is mandatory for some. For Ohio, also, it was mandatory until last year for US citizens to submit SAT or ACT test score. Now we don't have that anymore because we've gone test optional. So that is something that US citizens may have to submit at some universities. And with regards to any additional scholarship funding opportunities, US citizens are eligible for need based aid. So you have to kind of submit something called as the FAFSA, free application for federal student, and you submit that application, and the state that you are applying to will kind of work with the university in that state, and they will kind of give you uh, a need based aid. So you can be eligible for the need based aid and the merit based aid that all international students are also eligible for. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Yashwant wants to know, and this is a question around AP credits, how AP credits are basically considered while calculating the undergraduate GPA.
Okay, so AP credits, as far as I know, they are considered for awarding credits. For the GPA, we really look at your performance from class 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but one more thing I would like to add
Sure.
here. So, if generally a score of 3 or above in any of the AP exams that you give is considered eligible for a transfer of credit. Below that, there would be very few universities who would be willing to give you that credit.
Mhm. Prathamesh, would you like to touch upon a little bit about I-20? At what stage do students get it? I did see a question there. I'm just rephrasing it slightly. So, at what stage would students receive an I-20, and what does it really contain? And how does it fit in with the visa application, really?
Okay, so I-20 is a document that is issued to you for you to get your visa. Without the I-20, you cannot really enter the consulate or schedule your visa appointment. So an I-20 is issued by all the US universities, and whichever universities you are applying to, all can issue an I-20 to you, and it has basically all your details like your service ID, your program, the start date, end date, the total fees or the cost of attendance, and your personal details really. And after you, so there's a requirement for getting an I-20, and the university will only issue it to you after you submit your financial documents. If you are able to prove that you can financially support yourself while you are in the US. So at Ohio, I would explain how the situation works. So since we are need blind, we do not need financial documents at the time of application. We give out the admission decision, and then if the student is interested in taking it forward, we ask them to submit their financial documents. So they need to show something called as the I-20 amount. I-20 amount is the total cost for 1 year. So that the student needs to show in their sponsor's bank account, And then once we are satisfied, then we issue an I-20 to the student. And then with this I-20, they can go and schedule their visa appointment or go for the interview. Now you when you go for your visa interview, you only take the I-20 of the university that you finalize. You don't take all the I-20s with you, just what you finalized.
Yeah, and I would just like to add to what you just said, Prathamesh. It's usually advisable for a student to decide upon that one university where he or she is genuinely interested to visit, and then perhaps get one I-20, because these do have a connection at the visa level. And just so that there's no confusion, you should ideally only have one I-20 in hand. Even if you have made any changes whatsoever to your decision making process, you should go back and inform the universities where you are perhaps not going back to, and only have one I-20 at the time of your appointment at the consulate section, because that will avoid a lot of confusion as well. All right. The next question is from Sudhir, which is: would the American citizens studying here till grade 12 be treated the same as international students from a tuition perspective? So I think it's a follow up of sorts from what he asked earlier.
Okay, Sudhir, again, we get this question a lot. So there is something called as the in-state tuition and out-state tuition, or the international tuition. So international and out-state tuition is the same generally, and in-state tuition is where all the difference is. Now, you have to really meet certain requirements for you to be eligible for the in-state tuition. Like, you have to be, first of all, born in that state. Then you have to pay like some taxes there. There are certain conditions, which you have to meet. So just check with the university, whichever that you're planning to apply, and they will most probably kind of give you a questionnaire. And if you answer yes to most of the questions, then most probably, you will be eligible for the in-state tuition. There are also a lot of formalities that you need to complete, because your record kind of goes to the state.
All right. Okay. I think we're left with about 3-4 questions. But before that, Anu here has a point which says, "Will we get a recording?" And yes, the answer to that is yes, you will, Anu. We are recording this session because we want to upload it on our YouTube channel. So within this week, you will receive an email with the details of the recorded link and how you can access it and stuff like that. And we will also share Prathamesh's details on that same email. So in case you have not been able to take it down now, don't worry, we will have it shared with you. Okay, the next question is from Vivek, which is, I think, a follow up of sorts on the financial aid aspect, which is: why are some colleges asking for separate forms when applying for financial aid apart from the CSS profile?
Okay, again, an interesting question. Thanks for bringing this up, Vivek. So they must be asking this because they want to simply provide you more money. So a lot of institutions, also have a lot of institutional aid to give out to the students. So, this mostly is possible because they receive a lot of donations or grants through alumni, or, through some, corporations. And that's why they're able to kind of give you more scholarships through institutional aid. And for them to be able to, give you that money, they are required to ask this recipient, or the students for that matter, to fill out a certain application, which will kind of let the college know their financial situation better. So that's the reason they ask for it. One of the forms that is also popular is ISFA, which is by the college board. So some universities also ask for that. So it is an international version of FAFSA, if I had to put it that way. So they really want to basically know your financial situation better, so that they can uh, try and give you the aid that you've requested.
Great. Okay, I guess that answer should make our participants quite happy about submitting one more form. Okay, the last 2 questions, perhaps. So can we? Okay, the questions are sort of coming in, and I don't know, Prathamesh, maybe we will have to go beyond. I don't know, maybe
That's
another
fine.
10 minutes or so. Just let me know whenever you think we need to wrap up. So
Sure.
Anu here says, can we get in-state tuition for international students from second year onwards?
No, Anu, you cannot get the in-state tuition. So understand this: when the university is giving an in-state tuition to the student, they would also want the student to have contributed to the state, right? So that's how the benefit works. So either you're born in that state, or you would be paying taxes in that state, and that's why the state wants to pass that benefit from their side. So international students are not really eligible for the in-state tuition.
Okay. All right. The next question is from Yashwant, where he's basically asking about on-campus tutoring jobs, paid research positions. How can one really get through to these options and opportunities?
I will answer this in one word: just apply. I mean, there are a plenty of such opportunities available, and you are also kind of send these notifications. Once you are at the university, I'll tell you from my experience, you kind of, get to know about them everywhere, because whichever, building that you walk in, there will be these, what do you call? There will be these posters which will be put up, asking for people to apply for certain jobs. If you walk into a local coffee shop, or the library, university library for that matter, they will advertise these positions there. So it is really about looking out for these opportunities and then just applying. And most students kind of are able to successfully get these part-time work opportunities. It's not really a challenge.
Right. Akilan here was a question. So, what's the probability, or basically, will the acceptance get affected if one applies for financial aid?
Okay. Um, will the probability of acceptance is affected if we apply for? Not really. It is not going to affect your admission in any way. But again, every university has a different criteria, and based on how they are, if they are need blind or need aware, they they really make those decisions accordingly. So it is always wise to check with that particular university, before you kind of apply. But I don't think your admission is affected in any way because of your financial situation.
Right. Okay. Vivek has a follow up question specifically with regards to Ohio University, which is what's the average GPA?
Okay, so we require a GPA of 2.8 on a scale of 4, but certain programs like engineering, business, biological sciences, they need a slightly higher GPA. So a 3.0 is what we would look at.
Okay. Prathamesh, on the point of, Ohio University, I know you did give a lot of examples taking from the Ohio University experience and stuff like that. But would you like to sort of touch upon anything else specifically from Ohio University that's on offer in terms of the programs or scholarships? Or a little bit about how your campus is operational at this point of time, given that we do have some parents and students who are interested particularly around or about Ohio University.
Right. So we plan to kind of open our campus to students in spring, but by taking all the safety measures and precautions, like masks are compulsory. We have also kind of made arrangements on campus so that there is appropriate spacing, there are sanitizer stations, all of that is available. And most of the classes at this point would be online. But for international students, since they have to maintain their F1 visa status, they are required to take some in-person classes. So we would be, going for the hybrid model, where it would be a mix of in-person and online classes. But majority of them would be online, at least till the end of spring. The vaccines are here, so you never know. It may just all go, and we will be back to normal for fall. To answer your other questions, Orjita, at Ohio, we offer 250 plus programs at the undergraduate level. So everything from arts and sciences to humanities, engineering, business, communication, journalism, nursing, and even undecided that I told you guys about during the presentation is on offer. And some of our top ranked majors are our business majors, our engineering majors, and biological sciences. Those are really popular and highly ranked. Also, a journalism program, is well ranked in the US. So our school actually ranks in the top 10 in the United States. So you may want to check that out if any of the students are interested in journalism. And when it comes to scholarships, we offer actually generous merit scholarships to all international students. For US citizens, as I was saying, being a state university, we do offer the need-based aid through FAFSA. You can submit your FAFSA. Every college in the United States has a school code. So whenever you're filling out the FAFSA, make sure you enter the right school code, and then check with the university if they've received your FAFSA or not. FAFSA stands again for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It's a very extensive and lengthy form, and only US citizens kind of can complete that and are eligible for that aid. They are also eligible for merit based scholarships. So for fall 2020, our scholarships were in the range of $4,000 to nearly full tuition. So there was one student from engineering who got a scholarship of 20,000 US dollars, and it is renewable for the 4 years. So every year you get the scholarship. And there is no separate application for scholarship. Your application itself, is kind of considered for scholarships. We also offer the honors program, across all our majors. So if you are looking for something more advanced, with respect to the level of studies, or something more hands-on and experiential, then you should really consider applying for honors. You just have to indicate your interest when you're applying to Ohio, and once we review your application, and if your credentials kind of fit the honors profile, then you will be sent an invitation. We also have the Honors Tutorial College, which is based on the tutorial teaching systems of Oxford and Cambridge. So tutorial works slightly differently, wherein you are required to take like a tutorial every semester. A tutorial is a one-on-one session with the faculty member, who's an expert in that subject area, and it's more of a discussion really than the professor teaching you. Yes, you'll be taking regular classes, but you will be taking these tutorials wherein you would be kind of driving those discussions. You would be completing certain assignments at an advanced level. So those come with additional scholarships because it's a highly selective college, and we admit only about 75 students per year from all over the world. And they are available only for some of our majors. So you can check out our website, www.ohio.edu. It's a very simple website to remember. And we lastly are also offering the You Are Welcome Here scholarship. It's a scholarship which is offered by only a select few universities in the US. And if you get that scholarship, it will give you about $11,000, which is renewable again. And the deadline for that is January 15, 2021. So if you are considering to apply, then you can just submit an essay when you're filling out the application. There is a separate essay actually that is required for that scholarship. And once we receive your application, then we kind of make that decision, and we give out two of those scholarships annually, which are, as I said, valued at 11,000 US dollars. And we are, to sum it up, Ohio's very first public research university. We are huge, spread across 1,800 acres. It's a beautiful setting, really. We are located at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. Weather-wise, also, we are, very sorted that way because we experience all the four seasons. In winters, also, it is not very cold. We do get some snow, but not like a lot of snow, what one would get in a New York or a Michigan. So it's a pleasant climate overall, and we are located in a town of Athens in Ohio. And the advantage of being located in Ohio is that Ohio is also one of the most dynamic and economically important states of the country. So that gives our students, the advantage of being close to all these employers. So, as I said, top Fortune 500 companies, 25 of them are based in Ohio. So it just becomes easier, for them to have that access. Plus, Athens is also home to a lot of startups. Most of the startups which are founded by our graduates. So if you are, looking to work at a startup during your program, or after you graduate, you can get in touch with our alumni, and for all you know, you may just land up a job, or you may start working with them. So that is really it. And as a bonus, since you all were so patient today and you all attended the session, I would also like to offer the application fee waiver code. And if any of you are interested in applying for fall 2021, do get in touch with me, or Arjita at Education USA, and I'll be happy to kind of offer you that application fee waiver code, which will save about $70 for you.
Ah, that's amazing. That's a great bonus, Prathamesh. So, what about students who perhaps couldn't join us or would have left us before you made that announcement? Is it okay? Is it safe to reach out to them and let them know about this?
Of course.
Great. All right. Amazing. We will ensure that everyone gets to know about this, Prathamesh. So hopefully people will get in touch with you and figure out the rest of the formalities around that. I think. Did you touch upon the class size, because Vivek wanted to know about the class size, and also if you are need blind for international students? Perhaps these will be the last two questions, and then we will wrap up.
Sure. So our average class size is about 32 students, and for honors, it's even lower. And when it comes to, sorry, you were mentioning about.
Uh, I was mentioning about the class size.
Hmm.
And I think there was one more question. Just one sec. I sort of lost that page.
Right.
Just one sec. Okay. Yeah, if you're need blind for international students.
Right. Yes. So, Vivek, yes, we are a need blind institution. As I said, we do not ask for financial documents at the time of application. We give you the admission decision, and then we ask for financial documents.
Great. I don't think there are any more questions. Prathamesh, any concluding remarks? I think we can go on and on.
Right.
It was really, really informative, and I'm hoping that our participants here benefited from this. If participants have more questions, every Saturday we do something called an orientation session that's hosted by Education USA Bangalore. Every Saturday, 11:30. Do join us, ask your follow-up questions, and we will anyways be sharing Prathamesh's details, so you can get in touch with him as well for more questions specifically about Ohio University. But any concluding remarks, Prathamesh?
Sure. So just two things. Firstly, don't assume anything. Always ask, because you never know. What you're thinking may not even exist. So do that. Secondly, there are so many institutions in the US, and every university has a different requirement. So don't be surprised. Like if you're applying to two universities and both are asking for different set of documents, they are just following what they require of their students. So just kind of keep that in mind, and I think you are good to go.
Great. So that brings us to the very end of today's session. Prathamesh, thank you so much once again for collaborating with Education USA. It was a pleasure interacting with you, and I hope that the next time we do this, it's in a slightly different format, that we are doing this face to face, and it would be really nice to host you again, either via a virtual medium or as a face to face interaction with our students and parents. And to our amazing parents and students which could join us this evening, thank you so much for all your questions. I think in the last half an hour or 45 minutes, we have asked more than 30 questions to Prathamesh. So thank you for keeping us engaged, for all your enthusiasm. And remember, like what Prathamesh was saying, Education USA and the US universities are all just an email away. You just need to ask us for the help that you need, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Together with the US HEIs or higher education institutions, we will not give up on our collective goals of supporting you, the international students, and also students who are US citizens and studying perhaps in Bangalore or Karnataka. We all are big on social media at this point of time. And by we, I mean both the US universities and Education USA. So do look us all up on our platforms, because, we are constantly, that's a great way of sort of staying updated on all our events and activities and announcements. You could find Education USA on Instagram. Our handle is Education USA Bangalore, and that's a great way of staying updated about what's happening around as far as Education USA is concerned, and the US universities as well. And on that note, wishing you all the very best, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. Take care and best wishes with all your applications. Thank you so much. Prathamesh, I will stop